Alright, what is going on YouTube? Running Gun Sports back here with another video today. It's our weekly college football news update. We just released our NFL draft review on Sunday, 2021 NFL draft review. A very exciting draft this year, really, and it's one of those drafts where we don't know where the first 10 picks are and where they're going to be and who, and it was really the first two picks we knew, and Trevor Lawrence we knew was going to go first overall at the beginning of the NFL season, whether it was going to be to the Jacksonville Jaguars or the New York Jets. And either way, it was a great draft, and both those teams did end up getting quarterbacks. Zach Wilson went to the Jets, Trevor Lawrence went to the Jaguars, and really a great draft, very entertaining, and a lot of fun to watch, and it's just a lot of entertaining stuff to talk about in that video. This is our longest video we've released yet, so if you've not seen that video, go check it out and leave a like on that video. Subscribe to us. We post 3 times a week, and follow our social media pages at runningood_sports and at runningoodsports on runningun_sports on Instagram, at runningunsports on TikTok. That being said, let's get right into the video. Four-star offensive lineman Addison Nichols has announced his top 5 schools: Georgia, Tennessee, Ohio State, USC, and Florida. Four-star pro-style quarterback A.J. Duffy is committed to Florida State. 5-star safety from IMG Academy Kamari Wilson has announced his top 6 schools: LSU, Georgia, Miami, Texas A&M, Florida, and Florida State. And we'll see if Kamari Wilson stays in the Sunshine State, Florida State, or Miami, either of those schools. And IMG Academy this draft had 7 players selected. Incredible, and just insane amount of talent coming out of that school, and really impressive. And so congrats to them on that one. That's a record breaker for sure, as you would expect. 7 players out of one high school team is unheard of. 4-star wide receiver Denylon Morissette has committed to Georgia. 4-star dual threat quarterback Braden Davis has committed to South Carolina. 5-star safety Xavier Nwakpa has announced his top 7 schools: Clemson, LSU, Iowa, Notre Dame, Ohio State, Arizona State, and Texas A&M. Earl Little Jr., 4-star cornerback out of American Heritage High School in Florida, same high school as first-round draft pick Patrick Surtain for the Denver Broncos, who's coached by Patrick Surtain Jr.'s dad, who played in the NFL for 11 years, 7 years with the Miami Dolphins, 4 years with the Kansas City Chiefs. Has announced his top 6 schools: Florida, Miami, Florida State, Alabama, LSU, and USC. And Florida, Miami, Florida State, just like we mentioned with Kamari Wilson, all those schools are the best, getting the best players out of Florida, and that's really promising for all those programs, really. And it's extremely impressive to keep all those guys around, and they seem to be doing a pretty good job at it. Ohio State sophomore wide receiver Jameson Williams has transferred to Alabama in 2020. In 7 games, Jameson Williams had 9 receptions, 154 yards, and 2 touchdowns. This is one of the more interesting moves, and really unexpected for sure. And Ohio State, has maybe arguably one of the best receiving corps in college football right now, with obviously Chris Olave, who had a great year, and he returns for his senior year, which a lot of people expect him to go in the draft, and I think he would have gone first round in the draft for sure. And they have a very talented young receivers as well: Jackson Smith-Njigba, G. Scott Jr., and then obviously bringing in the number 1 wide receiver in the country, Mika Ukube. And they're just stacked at the receiver position. I'd put Alabama a little above them, just obviously because they beat them, but Ohio State nevertheless has a very talented really talented receiving corps, and they're going to be a problem to deal with. And they are losing their quarterback, their talented quarterback, and I think that it's going to be challenging to fill in those shoes. A lot of people expect Quinn Ewers to come in from South Lake Carroll High School in Texas, come in and change the program around. And I don't really see that at all. I think Quinn Ewers is a great football player, and if you haven't seen his tape, you definitely should. He's a very talented player. But in their biggest game this season, which was versus Duncanville High School, which is another powerhouse from the Dallas area in Texas, and they handed the ball off almost 80% of their plays. They were running the ball a ton. So I just think he's extremely overrated. And seriously, the 247sports.com has released that he is a quote perfect ranking according to their thing, a 1.000 ranking, which is the best ranking you can have. 24/7 Sports, they can have six of those, and I don't think a junior quarterback should be receiving that because I can watch this film, show you many things that he's done wrong. He kind of relies on his talent too much, which some people may say, well, it's like trying to tell Mahomes to not rely on his talent. But yes, but sometimes he needs to be able to take a sack and not try and force a play. And he's a great player, don't get me wrong, but I don't think that being a perfect ranking, I just think that that's a little much for him, and especially for a junior player. And he has another year left of high school, so I don't really think it's possible for anyone to be good enough to have a perfect ranking as a junior in high school and maybe a senior. But the best perfect ranking by 24/7 Sports to come out was Jadeveon Clowney. So really, but going back to Jameson Williams, and he struggled. It's gonna be tough for anyone to keep level with that talented receiving core, and you could tell that he wasn't getting the playing time. Comes to Alabama, and I don't know if he's gonna play much at Alabama or not. Obviously, they have the best receiving core in the country, and they've had four first-round draft picks just from receivers, and they had two this year, two last year. Henry Ruggs and Jerry Jeudy went, and then obviously Jalen Waddle and Devontae Smith went this year. So you never know. Uh, he might play, he might not, but I think that it's going to be really valuable to that team. This adds depth, and he might play, and it'll be interesting to see what happens. Another interesting fact about Jameson Williams: in high school, he holds the Missouri State record for 300-meter hurdle, which was previously set by Dallas Cowboys running back Ezekiel Elliott. So very talented, and Alabama recruits athletes like nobody's business, and that's extremely impressive right there. So moving on now, we're going to be talking about our top 5 tight ends coming into the 2021-2022 college football season. At number 5, I have Jake Ferguson from Wisconsin. 2020 had 30 receptions, 305 yards, 4 touchdowns, and I really ranked a lot of these guys off of value towards their team. Wisconsin is one of those teams where, they average about 2 losses per season. It seems like this year they're doing quite well until they took a tough loss to Indiana, and I think he adds a lot of value to that team, but I still think that he doesn't add the most value to the team like some of these other guys on their team. If you take these some of these guys I have above him off their team, they're really going to struggle a bit. And I don't think he's as good as claimed. I think he might be a tad bit overrated, but that's just my opinion. At the number 4 spot, I have Jaleel Billingsley, tight end from Alabama, and he came on late in the season last year, and you know we saw how versatile he is. He's like a Kyle Pitts type of guy, not as fast as Kyle Pitts. He's probably a little bigger than Kyle Pitts, but he has the same type of play as a tight end. Very versatile, very has a good agility for sure, and can catch the ball. And we really saw him had some big touchdowns later in the season. One versus Auburn, one versus LSU, and one in the in the college football playoff semifinals. And he has very good hands, extremely impressive hands, and he's going to have a very good year next year with experience and some really good playing time. And so it's going to be really exciting to see what he'll do in the 2021-2022 season, if he can help Alabama get back to the playoffs and maybe, who knows, another national title. And 2020 he had 18 receptions, 287 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Number 3, I have a senior, Cade Otton from University of Washington. One of those guys, if you didn't watch the Utah versus Washington game, one of the craziest games of the college football season last year, and down 21 nothing, Huskies come all the way back and win the game. And Cade Otton was really the guy who made that happen. If they didn't have him there, it doesn't happen. That comeback is not complete. And so he just adds so much value to that team, and he's a great player. And his senior year is he's got a chance to put himself on the map for some NFL scouts, and he's got a shot to make the NFL. And I think it's going to be really exciting to see what he does next year. 2020 he had 18 receptions, 258 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Number two, we have Jeremy Ruckert from Ohio State, and another guy who really came on very late in the season, just like we saw Jaleel Billingsley. But Jeremy Ruckert hadn't caught a single touchdown pass until the Sugar Bowl of the All-State game, and caught three of them in that game. So just so impressive. And he comes on late in the season, has a great year, and he added a ton of value to that Ohio State team, especially obviously in the Sugar Bowl when it was close for the short time that it was. And he's a great player. We saw a great catch. He has great hands, great catch versus Alabama early on in that game, one-handed catch, and just a great player all around. It's going to be really solid for whoever the Ohio State quarterback is next year, and just really adds to that receiving core that they have. 2020 had 13 receptions, 151 yards, and 5 touchdowns. Number one, I have Jalen Wademeyer, Jr. out of Texas A&M. 2020, he had 46 receptions, 506 yards, and 6 touchdowns. And next year, the Texas A&M Aggies is going to be a very good team. They lose their commander-in-chief, which is Kellen Mond, but they return Aniyah Smith, Isaiah Spiller, and obviously Jalen Wademeyer. And those are their triple threat guys. They're all very good players, and they've been recruiting very well. You already know Jimbo Fisher's going to have a good quarterback in. It's Jimbo Fisher, and it's going to be whoever can get the ball out to those weapons is going to help that team succeed for sure. Texas A&M, I don't think they'll have the greatest year next year, but I do think that they can give some good teams like Alabama run for their money just with all those weapons and being able to distribute the ball. Those are three players right there that I just mentioned that are massively large impact to that team. And Jalen Wademeyer is also a very versatile player, just like Jaleel Billingsley. He's a little bit bigger in weight. He might be a bit taller if not the same height as Billingsley, but they are both very versatile players. Play with the same type of play style as tight ends, and it's going to be really exciting to see what Jalen Wademeyer does as a junior in 2020, and if he'll come out, in 2021, and if he'll come out into the 2022 NFL Draft. That will wrap it up for today's video. If you guys have not already, please leave a like down below and subscribe and share this to your friends. Thank you.